Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 3 replays in the brand new Italian tier 10 heavy tank, the Rinoceronte. Now the Rinoceronte, it's got an auto-reloader mechanic, and the auto-reloader is a mechanic that I really like. I like using the auto-reloader mechanic, so naturally I kind of like the tank, just like the tier 9. It's a decent tank in all but one way, and that is the reload. The reload is just atrocious. There's no other way of describing it. It is utterly atrocious. The fact that I think the best reload I can get on this tank for this shell that you're seeing loaded now is 15.3 for 490 is crazy. I mean, I want to say the WZ111QL, but that is a fairly overpowered and a tank that classifies as overperforming. That's got 560 alpha, and I can get that gun down to 9.6 reload. That's like 5 or 6 seconds slower for this tank to reload than on a QL. On the 5A it's even quicker than that, and it's got 490. I think it was about 9 seconds or something like that for 490 alpha. The Panzer 7 is a tank that's not that good really. That has 560 alpha, and I can get that reload to like 10 seconds. That's got 560. The reload on this tank doesn't need to be as bad as it is. Right, the auto-reloader mechanic basically shouldn't be able to be an autoloader and have that same sort of capacity for damage that an autoloader can put out in a short space of time, but it also shouldn't be as good as the single shot, if you catch my drift. It shouldn't be as good as an autoloader at doing what an autoloader does when it drops its clip, but it also shouldn't be as good as a single shot. So it's a fine, delicate balance that you've got to find, which is why they do struggle with balancing these tanks. But they get it so wrong. So wrong. The reload is just tragic. Honestly, if you were to take off even 3 seconds of this reload, I don't think it'd be that bad. Honestly, I don't think it'd be overpowered, and I don't think it'd be too strong either. It wouldn't be too strong, and it wouldn't be a bad tank. It'd be probably just right. The reload on this tank at the minute is just sad, and just note down how, because these 3 replays, this one isn't as good as the next 2. This is kind of like, this is a game that shows that it does have potential, but you can see the drawbacks massively when you're facing other tanks. But just note down how long this game takes, the next game and the game after, right? There is only one way that these tanks have big games, and that is very long games. I mean, like, long time games as well. Games that take a long time. Because generally whenever I was having a good game in this tank, and I was doing, like, you know, 6k, 6.5k, which for a tier 10 heavy is a good game, but it's not a brilliant game in the amount of time it took to have these games, if you catch my drift. We're looking at 8 or 9 minutes. 8 or 9 minute games, and they were the ones that you only just managed to push out 6k damage, 7k damage, or like the final replay you'll see, which we're not going to spoil yet. If you were in something like I'll take the Panzer 7. To do, say, 7k, I could do that in a Panzer 7 easily in about 6 minutes. And that's if the game goes on that long, because obviously the big problem is games don't go that long. And it is a big problem. So right here you're going to see an advantage of an auto reloader here, right? I pulled forward to put one shot into the 277. I was going to pull around and kill him, but he doesn't realise he still had a shell left. Because I pulled back, we fully baited him then, and he went, oh, he must be reloading, and pulled round to his death. But here is where you're seeing a big problem with the tank. Just how long we're going to be sat twiddling our thumbs waiting for the reload. It is just such a big problem for this tank, and it's painful. The 4-second intro clip is a very long time, but for 490 alpha, because it slaps, you don't mind it that much. Like I say, I just wish that it was like 3 seconds faster. Even then I wouldn't even think it was that good, but it would be workable, because there's a difference between being a good reload or something that's too strong and just being workable. And if it did have that, it could be workable. But like you see, we are waiting. And you've got to take in with this tank that, I mean, the armour is mediocre on this tank. That is one thing. Like, the hull armour tends to get buttered up by most tier 10s. The turret armour, when you're on flat, will get penned quite easily. And even when you are on a ridge line, if people have like 300 pen, and people do just spam premium, don't they? They'll destroy the turret, and it's really annoying. And the fact is, if they pen your turret cheeks as well, they tend to damage your ammo rack, which is pure death to this tank. So right now in this game, you're going to see a mistake I made. There's a medium tank that went down the E line, and I went, oh, okay, I'm going to pull around here, we're going to see if attack. I'm just going to ignore that medium. If he comes to attack me, I can just drop my clip, kill him. So as we're coming up here, a medium tank appears on the left. I pop one in to finish the SU-130 PM. It's like, oh, okay. Managed to bounce the Pantera, track him, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to drop the clip, finish off the Pantera. Now we're safe, there's no medium tank behind us. And I'm looking like, I swear there was a Leo somewhere, but he's not spotted. Like, no, it must have been that medium tank that came around that Pantera. And then, just as we're looking, that Leopard one does appear. We're pulling the trigger, hoping for the best, and we do just get the shot off in time. But that Leopard one finishes off, and unfortunately, that game ends in the loss. Finished with 5 kills, the Sniper Medal, first class, 5.4k damage, 889 base XP on a loss. It's not a bad game. It kind of shows the drawbacks a little bit, just when you fire that clip and how quick you are, and it can be such a pain in the back being on those reloads that this tank has. It's just, yeah, it's an irritating tank with the reloads. So we're on to the second game, and the second game we're on Westfield. Now, how do I line this tank up with my equipment? The gun, this is what I'm talking about with the tank being pretty decent in a lot of different ways. The gun for a 490 Alpha gun is fabulous. 1400 meters a second shell velocity on the APCR that this tank gets as standard is fabulous. That is great lead. It means you don't have to lead targets as much, and the shell velocity is absolutely fantastic. The accuracy being 0.33 as well, with that better shell velocity at 1400. Means that you don't really need vert stabs. Now, vert stabs are always nice to have, right? Because it makes your accuracy better by 20%. But there's been there's pushing your accuracy too much to the point where it doesn't really matter as much that you're still improving it. If you just have all the gun perks on the crew, you don't need the stabs. So that way, I run rammer, vents, and optics. And that means that obviously I'm boosting the DPM as much as possible with the vents and the rammer, as well as the view range. And we're also boosting the view range as high as possible with the optics as well. And that is definitely something that's nice. And this gun handling, well, this gun just does handle really, really, really well. And that just, it opens those slots up. I mean, ultimately, if you wanted to, you could drop the vents and you could try and help the mobility of the tank and make that a lot better. By doing that, you could put the traction system on and get to 44 kilometers an hour, boost the good mobility that this tank has, because this tank has a 40 kilometer an hour top speed, but it does actually hit that 40 kilometer an hour top speed, and that is a really, really nice thing about this tank, and about most of the line, really. So you could boost it up like that as well, and that is something that's very useful. Obviously, having the 490 Alpha is really nice as well, because that 490 Alpha is just, it hits hard, and it does mean that when you actually hit people, you do slap them up. Now, on this tank, I do run the same crew setup that I've run the whole way up the sense, trap mechanic, situational awareness, steady aim, snapshot, run and gun, and armor angling. I do run that same crew setup the whole way up the line, because it just make the gun as good as possible. That way, when you are firing, there's less chance of you missing. Because honestly, especially with this tank, with how long the reload is, missing is just so frustrating, and it's not something that you want to keep doing. But you're seeing here, like, we weren't really fully aimed there, and that shot on that light tank went completely true. It went exactly where we wanted it to. This gun has been fantastic for me. We end up getting hit there while we're on the move by the artillery. He ends up doing a lot of damage. I think he actually penned us there. which isn't ideal. But we get 1 into that light tank, we get 2 in, and I decide, you know what, that light tank's going to be an absolute pain. We want to try and get rid of him, so we get all 3 shots into him. Now we're on full reload, which is an absolute pain, and dropping the clip is not something that I'd often recommend, because you do spend such a long time reloading that you sort of throw yourself to the whim of your team, in the obviously you're just out of the game for so long. So if games are going to pass you by, when you're reloading this full clip, that is when that's going to happen. Now, thinking about the reload and how bad it is on this tank, this leads to a problem with these Italian heavies, and that is the only way to get the best out of the tank is to have a good crew. Having an iron skill crew is like the only way that you can make these tanks any sort of good or bearable. And that isn't the way it should be. Because there's a lot of tanks out there which are just good. They are good, or they're decent without a crew in them. But then you put a crew in them and obviously you take them to the next level. These tanks are just dreadful without a crew. They're absolutely atrocious. They're just unbearable to play. Then you put a crew in them and they're just about bearable. Just. And it's just not the way it should be. But what this tank isn't especially is one that's good for it, and that is damage padding. So when you look at these tanks, artificially, they are very good at making their average damage numbers a lot better. And that is because you can have a full clip, you can play single shot, you can get up to like 3.5k damage like we are now. I could now sit, wait to get my reload, my team could collapse, I end up with a full clip, I dump the clip, I end up with like 5k damage. Just like that. Snapping my fingers. And then I've had 5k damage, and I keep doing that constantly. I'll have like average 4.5k damage, 5k damage, you know what I mean? Like, so their stats on these tanks can be artificially boosted like that, and so you can't always believe the average damage of what these tanks put out. So people, because you see people go, well, they average this damage, or I've seen Wargaming when they're saying, oh, they're averaging like 2.4k damage, which is a high number on average across everybody, which is, you know, outperforming most tanks. It's like, well, it's because you can just pad very easily. So you don't always want to trust the damage numbers, the average damage numbers anyway for these tanks. Because honestly, to play, these tanks are just an absolute pain. So on this game in Westfield anyway, stop moaning about the tanks, we have taken this position here. We've managed to just about get rid of the 279E that was pushing, and we're again stuck in this long reload because I decided when I loaded the second shell, I had to help my light tank out, I had to help my Tusk friend out, to get rid of the 279E because it was being a pain, and we had a heavy tank and the Tusk, and without me helping them, I had to sacrifice anything else I could have done in the game for another, 50 seconds to get rid of that guy and just save 2 of my teammates. Well, I say save 2 of my teammates, help them out to get rid of that 279E, which could be a pain. So obviously we managed to slap in 1,000 damage to him, and that is a big, healthy chunk of damage. So we managed to get rid of that 13105. And we're just going to not try to blow the load anymore. We're going to try and hold on to this reload for as much as possible. We spent too much of this game reloading and suffering the reload. Unfortunately, we missed a shot on that defender, and that's just painful, honestly. Missing shots in this tank is just, ugh. Same with any Autoreloader, it's just a pain. But now we know that the T62A is getting wrecked in the middle there. He's got a waffly 100 that looks like he's probably going to delete him. So we're going to go try and find the tank that's hiding in towards the base. But we thought for a minute there the T62A was going to drive out, but he doesn't. And there we go. There is the 777 version 2. We get 1 in. We know we can kill him with this clip. But we realise that the T62A gets spotted on our right. And it's like, oh, well, we could finish this guy off. I could wait for the reload, but instead I'm just going to let him... I'm just going to shoot him and get rid of him. I'm thinking now that I could wait for the reload, but the likelihood of that guy being alive was low. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to wait for a second shell. I'm just going to put the shell in, and I thought it was going to get finished off. But actually, he finished off my friend. So that actually gives me time, because there's only there's 2 artillery and like 3 guys left, right? And that means that I do have the time to get that full reload in to finish him off. And we finished that game with 6.3k damage, finished the victory, the 5 kills, 883 assistance, ace tanker, high caliber, 1543 base XP, and a nice game for the Rinoceronte. But like I say, that game took 8 minutes, or 8 minutes 15 I think it was. It had to be a long game just to get 6.5k damage. If I was in any other tank there, I probably could have done a fair bit more. I could have probably helped out a lot more. But at the same time, I might have been also a lot more aggressive in my plays. And in doing that, I might have actually got myself killed a lot quicker. So it swings and roundabouts. But these tanks really do need a very long game to be able to get anything done. So we're on to the last game. And this time we're on El Alamein. And it's NBA. We're the ones attacking the multi-base. I really do hope this game mode gets removed at some point, because it's just a terrible game mode for many reasons. So I do hope that eventually they will just take it out. But that means we've got 2 caps to attack. And they've got the B cap at F2 and the cap at B7, which is the A cap. And I like to push this way on El Alamein because it's got this little ledge that you're seeing on the front of us where this big rock is. And I do like to take that ledge because you can get shots along the dirt path you can see go through the middle of the map on the mini-map in the bottom corner. And you can also get shots up across where the B cap is. And you can also get shots at anyone that pushes along the 3-4 line. It's just a good. This position is just a good position. The other thing you've got to be careful of is getting caught out and spotted. And be careful when you push round this rock in front of where we are as well, because artillery, especially if they spawn at A2 like they have, can hit you there, which is something you just got to be careful of. So we boost our view range with food there to try and spot around the corner. We spot out the Kampfpanzer 50T there. There's a fellow pleb. We do manage to get the shot into him on snap. And that's what I mean, like, this gun is really good. That is one thing you can't take away from this tank, just how good the gun is. 0.33 accuracy with that great APCR round. It's fantastic. So we were trying to see if we could pop a shot at this medium tank over here while poking around that corner, but unfortunately we couldn't quite see it. He spotted us, and I wasn't quite comfortable with sitting there and, yeah, staying there. This 268 gets spotted. We try and snap a shot at him. Unfortunately, we don't quite pen him, but we do manage to track him there. And we're just waiting for the reload to go in constantly with this tank. That's all it is. And I'm thinking about what can I do next, because this ledge isn't being lucrative at the minute. They're not really pushing where I want them to be. I know there's a 268 on the right, but I'm thinking it's worth a chance to possibly push across. And I'm just looking there. I end up getting a bounce from something over in that direction there. And I'm just waiting, biding my time at the minute. But now is the time to go. I thought the 268 might pop round and shoot us. We ended up ricocheting for something for 520, which is probably the SU-130 PM. We actually end up getting slapped by the 268 as we get spotted on the cross, which is unfortunate. We're just going to try and aim a shot there. Unfortunately, it misses. But I want to get to this ridge line in front of us and get underneath the gun line of this 215B and T62A. Because even though because these are 2 tanks we've got to be careful of, because obviously they have DPM. They have way better DPM than me. Like, in terms of the FV215B with his 400 Alpha gun, he will put 3 shots into me before I get to reload this one shot. That's just how good his reload is. That's just how bad mine is. And I do want to get rid of these guys. We're putting the pressure up, we're hull down. We do have 2 heavy tank friends, which is what helps. And we're just going to keep popping up, dropping these 490 Alpha bombs, because that's what they are. And this is a situation you don't want to just pop up, drop your whole clip, because then you lose your potential, and you lose your scare factor as well. But these guys are just full on ignoring me. I go for the front of the FV215B there, because that's where his fuel tanks and his engine are. And FV215Bs are notorious for setting on fire. They are like, they're just full of kerosene. That's what it feels like. You shoot them, the set alight. We get another shot into his front there. Unfortunately, we're rolling very low here, 413 as well. He's probably got damage reduction perks on or something like that, no doubt, which is making us roll even lower. And we're just biding our time with this damage, with this clip, to keep dropping the alpha bombs. The 268 joins the party. We get a shot into the back of him. Again, I was thinking possibly engine fire. It's always in the back of your mind. Set someone on fire, make them burn. You get more damage out of it. You get more damage out of your shot. You make firing this really long-ass reload gun more worth it. He's turning to face the heavy tank that's on our back, which actually gave us a nice shot through the side there. And I'm thinking, right, I think now is the time to use my clip. Finish that guy off, and I was thinking, right, I'll finish the FV2 on 5B, but my Super Conqueror that is to my left does that job himself, which is nice. And now we're just going to wait for the 2 shells to go back into the clip again, probably. I am thinking, is it possibly time to drop these 2 shells into this 277 before he drops below the ridgeline? But I'm actually wanting my full reload back. It is very tempting to drop the shells into that guy, but I'm just waiting for it. That Kampfpanzer, I'm thinking, is possibly next on the list. But the Atomic has popped up, which is nice. Because that Atomic is attacking... That Kampfpanzer, sorry, is attacking our heavy tank in the middle. And he's giving us shots at his back, which is obviously helpful for us. He's just ignoring us, which we want to punish him for that. So we're going to pop over. We get one in. And I'm thinking, right, okay, you know what, I'm not going to let him live. We're going to try and finish him off. But unfortunately, he drops below the ridgeline where our gun depression comes in. So we can't quite finish him. So it's like, okay, let's just wait. Let's wait for the full clip again. And we're going to push forward and attack this Atomic in front of us. Because again, with the decent gun, well, with the good gun depression on this tank, we can do this. We can pull forward, use the good gun depression, slap the shot into the Atomic, finish him off. So we burn the food now to get our reload as good as possible. There's a TD to our left, there's a TD on the ridge lines over there, and I'm thinking, right, where this Kampfpanzer is, I want to be on that ridge line. Because if I'm on that ridge line, I should be able to get shots at these TDs, use the height advantage to stay safe from anything that comes around the corner, and possibly be able to rotate round it myself to stay safe and keep my... Basically keep my distance so I can just keep the reload going, because obviously we reload for a very long time. We don't want to be brawling in their face, committed, and that's just not what we want to be doing, so we just got to be careful with it. So we're going to pop over this ridgeline again, having that Kampfpanzer in mind, and there we go, we do catch him out, we finish him off. We've got to keep in mind that there's the Super Conqueror down there, but there is a Waffly 100 and a Death Star below us, which is something we just got to be wary of. We spot that F3215B out in the open, which is probably going to be curtains for him, so we slap one in. We are looking for the second, slap to him. He misses, and I'm thinking, should I kill him? No, because the Death Star randomly does that. I don't know what that Death Star was thinking, but we do manage to shut down the Death Star. But now we're in a full reload, and that is obviously a situation you don't really want to be in the Rinoceronte. Especially when there's only like a couple of tanks left and there's only you. Because you're out the game now for a very long time, and it depends on what your team does. And not just that, if they push aggressively, we're going to be stuck. Because we don't have the reload to help. So we're just... It's also all we're going to be hearing from this whole thing is, you just got to bide your time, you just got to wait. You don't want to have a happy trigger finger and just drop the clip too early. So we do have 2 shots, and this Super Conqueror drives out in front of us. And I'm like, right, okay, I can't 2-shot him because I know with the... Pre 6.0, I probably could have 2-shot him. Post 6.0, no, I knew I wasn't going to be able to 2-shot him. But I wanted to put him in a position where it was a 1-shot for everybody bar me. Oh, I'll say it's a 1-shot for everybody. And I'll say bar me because I dropped my clip, right? But now I've realised the problem, and that's when it stopped reloading. And that is I've reloaded only 1 shell of APCR, which is really unfortunate. Means we've got to get rid of this shot, and then we can start reloading the heat. There's no point starting to reload the heat to get the clip in, because otherwise we're waiting for ages. We'll just drive out in front of the waffle there, because we knew we'd probably get a shot in and then he'd die. And now we're just loading the heat round, but there's only 1 tank left. It is artillery. So we know exactly where the artillery is. We saw the shells flying out earlier on, and we're just going to charge towards it. So 1 shell's in. I think it was a GW Tiger, which I don't think we can kill with 1 shot alone. So we're boosting with food to try and get this reload as much as possible. We see the shell fly out there. I'm waiting for, well, I say I'm waiting for the reload. I am waiting for the reload, but I also know that now, since he's fired, I'm definitely going to be able to get that second shell in and then finish him off. And we have what is an actually fantastic game for the Rinoceronte. 8k, 909 assistance, victory, come top with 1845 base XP. That's a fantastic game for the Rinoceronte, but it was 9 minute 12 game, like I say. It has to be a long game to be able to get the ace tank of the sniper, the high caliber Confederate, the 8,000 damage. It's a lot of damage for this tank, but it takes such a long time to be able to get that damage out, and it's just a pain. It's a decent tank, but that reload kills it. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!